Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
I have been saying for years that if the war on terror was in fact real, the first thing any sensible government would do would be to close its borders to everyone. Not just Muslims, not just Christians, Hindus, whatever, but to everyone who wanted to get into the country until we could assess who they are and why they are coming in. Rupert Murdoch agrees with Trump. Jimmy Carter stopped Iranians coming into America during the Iran hostage affair. There are many people who agree with Trump on what he said, but the abuse that Trump has had for what he said is just ridiculous. The media is so politically correct, so scared of offending anyone, that they're censoring themselves and us back into the dark ages. And I'm sure most of the so-called journalists don't even realise what they're doing. The media have deliberately taken out of context what Trump said, which has led to calls for him to be banned from the UK. Some threat that, isn't it? At least offer a threat with a little bit of substance. Trump, you are hereby banned from the most surveilled, the least free, the most anti-free speech, the most draconian country in the Western world, a country so draconian that its leader not so long ago said that obeying the law will no longer keep you out of trouble with the state. There, that'll teach him. There have even now been death threats, many death threats for Trump, and loads of calls for him to be assassinated. I see that the petition for Trump to be banned from the UK has now surpassed 450,000 signatures, making it the biggest petition ever, with the previous biggest petition being this one. Stop all immigration and close the UK borders until ISIS is defeated. So, let me get this straight. The banning Trump from entering the UK because he wants to ban all Muslims from entering the US until the Obama administration sorts itself out petition just pips the close all UK borders until ISIS is defeated petition. Just like Trump was saying about America. Funny how there's been next to no media attention about closing the UK border petition, isn't it? Now, as you know, my wife likes to watch Good Morning Britain, sadly. However, on Tuesday morning, when Piers, I want to take all Americans' guns away from them, but as long as I can have armed guards when I'm in America, Morgan and Susanna, I didn't sell my soul for money, honestly, Reid, were interviewing Ann Coulter from America. And you could see the evil spewing from Morgan and Reid, especially Susanna Reid. She was glaring at Ann Coulter as if she was the devil because she didn't immediately roll over and demonise what Trump had said. Obama himself has said that this even disqualifies Trump from running for the presidency. How on earth can Obama make that decision? Let me remind you, and Obama, who just happens to be a Muslim,
talked about my Muslim faith,
that Obama isn't, despite all the unconstitutional executive orders he signs with his pen and the use of his phone, that Obama isn't a dictator. He clearly wants to be, and he has turned the office of the presidency of the United States into a potential dictator's heaven, should the likes of Hillary Clinton, wife of renowned rapist Bill Clinton, get elected. The American Congress are virtually allowing Obama and the office of the presidency to be a dictatorship by being so bought and paid for and just going along to get along. You thought our MPs were bad. The US Congress, bar a few decent people, are horrendous. Actually, ours are just as bad thinking about it. They're both a useless shower, cowering to big business and crony capitalism. It's like the issue with Tyson Fury. I can't imagine that I'd have much in common with this geezer. I doubt he would enhance my life in any way at all. But I will defend his opportunity to say what the heck he likes as long as he doesn't incite a riot. But nowadays, the politically correct crowd have to call for somebody to resign, to be removed from a job, to be removed from a committee, as long as they're removed from something, or banned from something. Or they have to have a pointless politician that the government will just ignore, just so it makes them feel as though they're doing something. Surely the political correctness in this country has peaked. We've got to get back to some common sense and tell people who are offended about absolutely everything that they have absolutely no right not to be offended. They need to grow up before we all self-censor everything we do, and we're worried about what we say and who we say it to. East Germany Stasi, anyone? If this happens, just imagine what our government could get away with then. Ask yourself this: who is the least moralistic out of this bunch? Is it Tyson Fury for what he said about gay people, abortions, Tory MPs, paedophiles and women? Maybe it's the despicable, should have the decency to resign, Lucy Allen, Tory MP, who made up a death threat from one of her constituents in order to make people feel sorry for her. Bear in mind that this death threat could have led to the innocent constituent being investigated by the police. Or do you think David Cameron is the most moralistic for relentlessly calling for regime change of an elected leader in a sovereign state, which happens to be a war crime under international law, and also for starting a war in another country against terrorists who admit that they have at least 450 of their jihadi fighters in our country planning attacks? It's not a difficult one, is it? But the politically correct bunch will spend more time and effort reading and writing about and moaning about Tyson Fury than they will about what the disgusting Tory MP Lucy Allen did or what David Cameron has said and done. Did you see that the BBC reported that the US-led coalition, that includes us, killed 26 innocent people in Syria the other day? So David Cameron's actions are already killing innocent people. You would have thought that by the response to the Tyson Fury episode, that a few choice words from a boxer, words that I don't agree with by the way, but you would have thought they have hurt more people than the bunch of brimstone missiles, £105,000 each by the way. You would have thought that brimstone missiles smashing into the homes of children while they slept at night, killing them, was far less important than Tyson Fury. We've just got everything the wrong way round. Speaking of morals and priorities, did you see that our Chancellor, the man who is tipped to be the next Prime Minister, the man who loves to snort cocaine with prostitutes, and the man who loves to have things inserted into his rectum, a man who burnt £50 notes in front of homeless people as an initiation to the Bullingdon Club? Did you see that he said that the country has got its mojo back now that we are killing innocent people in Syria? So in his twisted mind, because we're bombing and killing innocent people, we should be happy and joyful because the country has its mojo back. I bet you not one person in the House of Commons or in the mainstream media will ever ask him to quantify those comments. What an evil, disgusting man George Osborne is. Anyway, back to Trump. What the media forgot to mention, or very few mentioned, is that Trump was actually calling for a temporary ban until the Obama administration can work out what the hell is going on. But just imagine if Donald Trump was right. Imagine he's got this one spot on and everyone else has got it wrong, but they're just too scared to admit it because of political correctness. As I said earlier, there's a lot of people who agree with him. How many of the jihadis, the let's call them what they are, something else the politically correct are scared to do, the radical Islamic terrorists that murdered people in Paris, were let into the country via the refugee crisis? A crisis that was created by the West's support of terrorists in Syria. Support that is still going on today. I have to admit that the more I look into the Paris shooting, the more questions it raises. Crisis actors, white men doing the shooting, a black Mercedes travelling from one venue to another that's never been found. And it's the same with the San Bernardino shooting. There are at least 2 eyewitnesses that were interviewed said that there were 3 white men in military fatigues that were doing the shooting, not the man and white team that the media have blamed it on.
Where I was at right here, we seen there was 3 white men in military fatigues taking off.
What were they driving?
It was a black Impala, like SUV, or yeah.
You think that they might have been the shooters?
Yeah. The way they were driving, yeah.
And how many shots did you hear?
Oh, a lot. It was a lot. It sounded like, like I said, it sounded like a gun range, just shots going off like crazy. It was a lot of shots.
What's your first name?
Juan.
Juan, what's your last?
Hernandez.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
She saw the attackers enter the building, and we spoke to her by phone.
I heard shots fired, and it was, from an automatic weapon. So, it's very unusual. Why would we hear shots? As we look out the window, a second set of shots goes off, and it's just pop, 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 pop. And we saw a man fall to the floor. Then we just looked, and we saw 3 men dressed in all black military attire with vests on. They're holding assault rifles, and they opened up the door to Building 3, and one of them opens up the door to Building 3. He starts to shoot. He just, shoots all over into the room. That's the room that we typically have conferences in. We just heard more gunshots go off.
You're certain that you saw 3 men?
Yes. It looks like their skin color was white. They looked like they were athletic build, and they appeared to be tall.
And of course, we've just learned that one of the suspects was actually a woman.
David Cameron says that Trump's comments were decisive, unhelpful, and quite simply wrong. However, we're told that there are at least 450 jihadis in the UK that could be plotting attacks against the UK. After an ISIS attack on London that kills a couple of hundred people, how's Cameron going to feel then? I think everyone in this country will think that David Cameron and the EU's open door policy that will have allowed these jihadis into our country will have been decisive, unhelpful, and quite simply wrong. That is, unless, like Cameron, you want an attack to happen, because this will create a martial law type scenario in the UK, just like it has done in Paris. This will also allow for emergency legislation to be passed by suck-up, know-nothing MPs to enslave the people of the UK to the point where we will be living in an electronic Nazi Germany before we know what's hit us. We are indeed living in very scary times, people.